Hello, awesome people. I hope you're having just a magnificent day today. Today, I'm taking a look at my top 5 Magic the Gathering sets that have ever been printed. I'm somebody who's done a lot of stuff in the Magic the Gathering world. I write 3 articles a week for Cool Stuff Inc. I have published since my first writing jobs were for Star City Games back in 2002, and I've written pretty consistently. And now I have 2 regular columns plus an SEO article for CSI regularly. So I'm still in that genre more than 20 years later. I've played it all of my adult life. It's the only hobby that's sort of just stuck with me from part to part to part to part to part. So I thought it would be fun for me to bring you my 5 favorite MTG sets for you folks. These are in order from 5 to 1. Some of these are going to be pretty obvious. For me, somebody who's been playing as long as I have since I was 18 years old, back in all of my adult life and more than half of my life total, as somebody who's 47, right? I've been playing since 1994, when the Dark was an expansion set that you could buy in stores, right? So that was good stuff. So basically, I'm going to be giving you my top 5 blocks, or sets rather, and then why each of them are my top 5 sets, and so forth. You ready? We're going to start with the most modern of the ones. This is Ixalan. It's a pretty recent one. It's a brand new plane that was introduced that I like a lot for its flavor. It's sort of a flavor first. It's going to be the second highest hitting flavor first style of plane. The next one will be hitting at number 2. So basically, this one's, what I like about the flavor here is that it really feels inspired by pulps, right? It's got pirates, it's got treasures, it's got dinosaurs like Lost Worlds. Pirates are big also too, with treasures and treasure maps and stuff like that. And the pirates have sort of an advanced thing, and there's an entire culture of vampire conquistadors that are invaders too, that feel very Spanish Mesoamerican too. So it feels very pulpish and very stuff like that. I definitely enjoy all the different factions that are in Ixalan that are vying for control of each empire, from the Sun Empire and in the Mesoamerican feline plane. I think they did just an absolutely outstanding one for you folks. And so the first set in this, which is the larger one, and not rivals of Ixalan, is my 5th favorite set for the flavor reasons. It's also got great cards in it too, right? It's not just the flavor too, but it definitely puts flavor first in some major ways. So that's number 5 for you folks. Excellent. Number 4 is pretty obvious for somebody who's been playing the game as long as I have, and that's Time Spiral. Time Spiral was a gift that was made by Wizards of the Coast for long-term players like myself. It's basically a nostalgia set of new cards. The idea here is that you have some stuff that are happening here in the concept of the thing with the things that are happening. So you have callback cards like Cold Stoker from Cold Golem, stuff like that are great. You also have great cards like Draining Welk that are new, that are great for casual players too, which is where I typically play my sets. It's also great for draft too, but not as good as some of the other ones that you'll be hitting later. But it's pretty good stuff, right? Such a strong concept, such a strong stuff. And also one of the things I really like about Time Spiral in particular is that many of the first sets of a block, just like this one, were really bigger. They definitely set things up. Sometimes those blocks will fail. We'll have another one that hits higher that fails. Sometimes those blocks really succeed, and I think that this one really succeeded. Time Spiral and Future State are all huge hits with things like Tarmogoyf and Damnation and Harmonize and stuff, right, all up and down them, and so forth. So the nostalgia set definitely hits me the strongest of these 3 for you folks, and that's Time Spiral. Again, with classics like Magus of the Disc and stuff like that, are callbacks to memory discs and memory jars and stuff, memory discs and nostalgia, Never Knows Disc and memory jar, Magus of the Jar, stuff like that. I think there's a lot of great, solid stuff here, and that really hit me hard. And the time shifted. I played this in a pre-release, and the time shifted aspects of the previous ones hadn't been released into the public yet. And I don't typically read spoilers anyway, so I was surprised. And I actually opened up a foil Soul Carver the Swamp King. So such a strong draft moment and sealed moment, right? to get something like that in its original art, in original size, and it was an original border. It was great stuff to have them in original borders and such that are now modern legal. So I think that has such a strong impact on how to sort of evaluate a set. So that's number 4, Time Spiral for you free. Number 3 is a classic. If you've played it or you were alive in the era, you probably aren't going to be surprised that this one be making the list of anybody's truly. And that's Invasion for you folks. Invasion is the first gold set. It really feels, because it's the first gold set, it really feels like the first set that's built around a color or a mechanic rather than just an artifact set or an enchantment set, right? Or a creature set or graveyard set. So like here, right? It feels pretty new, right? Comboing these different color pairs that are typically in allies and enemies and so forth, and then combining them in the invasion and then the alliances against them of normal enemy factions against the invasion by the big bads. It's also sort of the penultimate storyline of the block storyline that's been going on since the Weatherlight saga began in the set Weatherlight. So it's also sort of that denouement of a multi-year storyline too. So it's the heavy hitter of what we've been preparing for. Fire Invasion, and it does not disappoint. From cards like Fires of like Rift the Awakener, casual hits like that in Commander, or Fires of Yavimaya, stuff like that, right? That dominated the standard format, and we're pretty good. This thing has all up and down the kickers, the allied cards, things in the domain that they introduced mechanic that still stands around today with tribal flames and stuff. It's an absolute winner, right? And that's number 3. Invasion. Number 2 is the highest hitting. It's the one I talked about earlier with Excellent. Number 5. It's the highest hitting for just pure flavor alone. That was flavor inspired, and it was the first flavor inspired one, and that's Champions of Kamigawa. It was inspired by Japanese, anime and pop culture and history, and that sort of thing. And they did a deep dive so it wouldn't be disrespectful from sort of a Western audience, and I definitely enjoyed that aspect. And this was not the good follow-up like Invasion or Time Spiral or even Excellent Travels. This is definitely a lesser follow-up. This one started so high and fell so low. This is my favorite draft, by the way. Triple Champions, the 3 of these. I think it's just so great. And I don't think you want to introduce the rivals or betrayers as much. I don't think that has a strong feel to it. I just think that the later blocks let this one down. The middle one was okay. It was great. But I don't think it really pushed ninjas as much as it could have. And then I think that the last block definitely let this down. So there you are. So those are the Champions of Kamigawa sequels. I think they sometimes will give it a bad light, but you shouldn't. This thing was so strong. It had so many casual all-stars from Kokusho to Ryusei. Had lots of casual players like Maliko, the Beloved Mirror, Azusa, Lost But Seeking, Azami, and so forth. All beloved casual classics and Commander classics. So they're all great stuff. Champions of Kamigawa, big hitters, big stuff. Love it. Loved it much. All right, and then my number 1 is a second set. It's the only second set in this, and that's Visions. It's the first second set of a block. Mirage was the first block, and it definitely put block mechanics on the map in a major way. What Visions does, Mirage has some issues as the first set. It's not as strong a set from top to bottom. It's fine in draft, but it's not that great in other ways. So it's okay, and Weatherlight the follow up, and final set's also okay too. It's better in draft, but it's also okay too. But what Visions does is Visions really puts it on the map in a major way. This block structure, it's the first one that has quality cards at all 3 commonalities, from Riverboa or Undo at common, or stuff like Decrypt Rats and things like that that are commonly played today, or even Fire Blast, those heavily played at the time in Standard and Extended. Or uncommons like Creeping Mold or Octavia Befreet or Nakrata, or rares like Vampiric Tutor, Desertion, both heavily played. Desertion is a beloved counterspell for casual tables, and Vampiric Tutor is a big one. So it's heavily played, heavily beloved at that time. Its cards stand up better too, I think, overall. But what this block gives us is the first set of Enters the Battlefield abilities, which I've already talked about with Octavia Orangutan, and Necrotal, stuff like that entered the ability and had things that did things, right? Destroy artifacts or and those sorts of things. And those would definitely become the way of making cards to move forward. So it just wasn't influential because it was, it had cards from all commonalities that were pretty good at the time or today, but also strong stuff that's really stands the test of time. But then I also introduced the ETB mechanic too, right? That we call Enters the Battlefield. It's strong stuff from start to finish, and it's stronger than Mirage and Weatherlight, but not as overpowering as Tempest Block that would come later. Or, with things like Curse Scroll, or, Survival of the Fittest, or Oath of the Druids that would dominate things. It was much more laid back from, and so forth. So Creeping Mold or Prosperity, things like that, are pretty good for our casual tables without actually dominating too much. So there you are, that's Visions. That's my number one. So there you are, those are my top 5. Once again, those were Excellent at number 5. Time Spiral at number 4, Invasion at number 3, at number 2 is Champions of Kamigawa, and at number 1 is Visions for you folks. So there you are. What are your top 5 sets? Where did I go wrong? Let me know in the comments below, whatever your thoughts are. Agree or disagree, that's fine. This is my set, this is not yours. Yours is always going to be different, that's fine. No issues there. Just let me know what you're in the comments below. If you like this, why not hit the subscribe button, the like button, the bell icon if you're feeling frisky, and also let your friends know, particularly MTG fans. And then finally, I just want to pause and thank you so much just for taking some time out of your day and investing it and watching my video, right? Because we are all pulled in so many different directions, right? Or having so many different things that happen in our lives. So the fact that you spent this time with me, that's incredibly humbling, and I appreciate it much. So once again, have a great day and thanks.